Well, can I get dressed?
Yes.
Will the patient live?
Oh, yes. Yes, you're fit enough.
That's all I need to know.
Oh. Have you cut down on your smoking since I last saw you?
Gave it months ago.
Good. Well, what about alcohol?
Never touch it.
And your sex life?
That's my business.
Any other problems? Headaches?
Any professional ones?
What about sleep?
Occasionally.
Nocturnal GGs?
What?
Bad dreams?
They come with the job, don't they? Is there anything else?
No. Just a little advice. Try to relax a bit more.
Yes, I remember that. Thank you, Doc.
Oh, I'd like to speak to Mr. Peel, please.
Peel here. Ah, Paddy, top of the morning to you. Yes, what's the verdict?
Well, I agree with you. He is stressed. I think he should be rested. Otherwise, he's riding for a fall.
Of course, he's playing a careful game at this stage. If his multi-dimensional foreign policy works out the way he wants it to, then he'll gain all the way along the line. From the West, as well as from Moscow. But it could turn very sour on him.
Yes. Yes, it's interesting. Yes, Andy. Ah. I think we finished, haven't we?
Yes.
Ask him to go in, please. Thank you very much, Paul. And keep me briefed on the Athens sale.
I will, sir.
Morning, Paul.
Morning, sir.
Matthew?
If you can spare me a few minutes, sir, I'd like to talk to you about internal organization.
Any particular aspect?
Manning, principally, at the departmental director level. I believe this might be an appropriate time for you to review your team.
Stop beating about the bush, Matthew.
Sir?
What you're trying to tell me is you'd like to get rid of Burnside.
I wouldn't put it as harshly as that, sir.
No? How would you put it?
Well, I am beginning to have doubts about his continued effectiveness as director of operations.
On what grounds?
Until this morning, very tenuous grounds. One hears whispers down the corridors, one notes an atmosphere among his staff. But he had his annual medical today, and I took the liberty of asking Paddy O'Toole to look out for signs of stress.
And?
He rang back just now and confirmed it. He says Burnside should be rested. If he isn't, he could be riding for a fall.
Morning, Paul.
Morning, Leo.
Morning.
No.
Can I have a word, please?
Oh, what about?
It's a complaint, really, about last night.
Okay, go on. What do you want?
Come on, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? You kept her here deliberately because he knew we had a date.
I had work for her, Willie. She is my secretary.
It wasn't that urgent.
I decide what's urgent.
I know, but I don't believe that it was necessary for you to keep her here until 10:30 last night. Just because you wear a hair shirt doesn't mean we all have to.
He's had a lot on his plate over the last month or so, and he drives himself very hard.
Too hard, in my opinion. It's becoming counterproductive. I think he's feared rather than respected, and that's dangerous.
But the fact does remain that he's one of the few officers who has both field experience and a good grasp of international affairs. I don't like the man myself, but I think we'd be hard-pressed to find an adequate replacement for him.
I didn't expect to hear you argue his case, sir.
Willie, look, you know the reasons.
I know your reason.
We've been over this before. Find someone else.
But the fact that she's on the SIS payroll means I don't have to watch what I say all the time I'm with her. I just refuse to accept that you've got a right to run my life.
I got work to do, that's all I have to say.
You know the real trouble, don't you?
But what we come back to is the question, is he competent? You can't deny that he has ability, drive, and undoubted powers of leadership.
He's also secretive, devious, and deceitful. And he's beginning to wield too much power in this building for my liking.
I was under the impression that he'd mended his ways.
He's probably being more careful.
Who would you put in his place?
I would suggest a straight swap, sir, between D-Int and D-Ops.
Dolgetty?
Yes, sir. I've been most impressed by the way he's pulled his department together since taking over.
Well, he's only been in the job 3 months.
Agreed. But I think his talents are more suited to the operational field.
Does he want Burnside's job?
Yes, he does. If you remember, he was rather reluctant to take over as D-Int because he thought Burnside would be due for relief within the year.
Well, I'd have no objection to Dolgetty as D-Ops. Oh, but Burnside couldn't possibly remain here as D-Int. We'd have to find somewhere else for him.
Yes, I suppose we would. Somewhere quiet, perhaps, where he couldn't build another empire.
Of course, then we'd have to find a new D-Int.
Easier than finding a new D-Ops.
All right, Matthew. I take note of what you said. But I'm not prepared to jump just yet. I'm saying to Geoffrey today I might have a word with him.
Right, sir.
And in the meantime, I know you'll keep an eye on Burnside. You never know. He may be just going through a bad patch.
Of course, sir.
Marion? D-Ops here. Have you seen Madrid signal? Head of station's committed suicide. Shall I come up? Yes, sir. Iberian file, Underwood Pachenko. Is D in there, please? Well, get a message to him, will you? Tell him he's wanted on the 6th floor, Deputy Chief. What precedence that signal?
Immediate.
What's he doing on the routine file, then?
The MCO must have put it there by mistake.
British Embassy Madrid's immediate signal, daytime group 231516 Zulu. It's been disted on the routine file, and I should have seen it 2.5 hours ago. Kindly sharpen up your department, will you? I'll be with Peel.
Sorry, I should have spotted it.
Do you know what I felt like doing at 10 o'clock last night?
What?
I felt like getting an aerosol spray and writing "Burnside must go" all down the front of this madhouse.
Sounds like you could do with a week's leave.
I'm not the one that needs the leave.
Poor old Cliff. D-Int on his way up.
Left word with the secretary, so yes.
This must have happened, what, late yesterday afternoon?
Yes.
D-Int to see you, sir.
Ask him to come in, please. Come. Ah, Paul, have a chair.
Hello, Paul.
You've heard the news from Madrid?
Just now, sir. Most unfortunate.
Any ideas on why he might have done it?
None at all, no.
I don't think we should just assume it was suicide, though.
Could have been a well-disguised hit.
Shouldn't ignore the possibility.
Was he into anything in particular?
He passed back some useful information on the Bilbao-Dublin link last year.
Could have got his ear too close to the ground. When did Spanish desk last receive anything of importance from him?
Several months ago.
There is another possible. He made a couple of contacts with a military attaché, Russian Embassy, Lisbon.
A GRU man?
Yes, name of Pachenko.
Well, that's unusual.
He seemed to think he may be able to turn him. Bumped into him at an embassy reception in Madrid.
Yes, now what about the station number 2? Will he be able to cope?
Pearson? Well, he's comparatively new, but he's shaping well.
Gonna have a lot on his plate.
I like to send a Sandbagger, sir.
Is that really necessary? Could be tied up for a week.
Look, Paul, I am not convinced this is a straightforward suicide. Cliff Underwood might not have been our brightest head of station, but he was certainly one of our most stable. He wouldn't have killed himself, not without very good reason.
Who would you send?
Okay. He'll have to take charge of the station while he's there. Wallace is too junior.
I doubt if he'll find anything.
Look, he'll find even less doing crosswords down in the hutch.
Yes, well, I'll agree to your sending Kane for a few days.
Right, sir?
Then, of course, we shall have to think about a replacement for Underwood. Any ideas on that?
That shouldn't be too difficult. Not as if Spain's a critical area.
No. Well, think about it. Perhaps you could let me have a short list of names.
Right, sir?
Was there something else, Paul?
Yes. I went down to the Spanish desk when I heard the news. They were in the course of going through the diplomatic bag from Madrid. This was addressed to me personally.
US eyes only? How the devil did we get hold of this?
I think it may be the first fruit of the subornment operation Neil just mentioned.
But it's a CIA printout, isn't it?
Yes. It conforms to their octopus format, the computer at Langley.
An appraisal of the strengths and weaknesses of the United Kingdom's Secret Intelligence Service. I suppose it's genuine.
I think so. It compares exactly with the printouts they give us.
It's pretty qual quality. Hardly read some of it. What is it, second-hand clothes?
I'd say so, yes. A CIA double passes it to a Russian agent, presumably this Pachenko, who passes it on to Underwood. It's not of tremendous value, of course. Probably a free sample more than anything else.
Proof of good intentions.
You'll see why I didn't mention it earlier when you reach the entry against the name Burnside.
Yes, I do indeed. Who else has seen this?
Oh, no one, sir. I thought it best to,
Quite right. Quite right. Particularly important the D-Ops does not see it, hmm? Pity that it's incomplete. Any reason for that?
Not that I know of, sir, no.
Yes, we'll leave it with me, Paul, for the time being. So. And, thank you for bringing it to me.
Well, in the circumstances, I felt it was, I'll make sure Sandbagger 1 gets a good intel brief.
I'm sure you will, Paul.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, by the way, it's informal tonight, is it?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
I shall look forward to that. Deputy Chief, are we expecting C back this afternoon, Sandy?
No, sir.
Well, in that case, I should like to see him first thing tomorrow morning.
Very well, sir. I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
So was he into anything in particular?
He was turning a GRU man. Russian Embassy, Lisbon.
With any success?
I know. We're expecting something from him any day.
What about the suicide? How did he do it?
Drowned himself. In whiskey first, then in his swimming pool.
Nice one. Who found him?
His wife. Any ideas?
We caught a few whispers that there might be a move against SIS. This could be the beginning.
What was your source?
All kinds of sources. All you got to do is read the newspapers. Your new lady at number 10 isn't making herself exactly popular with Moscow. Now, you guys have been having a lot of success lately.
I'm glad someone thinks so.
Well, you have been. Been a lot of defections. It's been a very effective anti-Soviet campaign in the media. No, you guys are really starting to hit him where it hurts.
I wouldn't have thought the head of Station Madrid was the man to hit if they wanted to take revenge.
Maybe he was an easy target.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, don't worry about it, Neil. I'll keep the old ear to the ground for you.
Thanks, Chief.
An officer whose tendency to play a one-man band is causing friction and distrust in the corridors of the Secret Intelligence Service.
Don't pull their punches, do they?
But they don't need to, sir. After all, it was never intended for our eyes. By the way, sir, did you mention our conversation of yesterday to Sir Geoffrey?
Yes, yes, I did. He was surprisingly sympathetic. Seemed to feel that moving Burnside might be good for all concerned.
I shouldn't like him to feel that he was being sacked.
Oh, there's no necessity for that.
So you do agree with me, sir?
Yes, I do.
How long will you be gone?
3 or 4 days, maybe a week.
Reckon he's done it on purpose, sending you instead of me?
If you'd asked me that a month ago, I would have said never.
No, don't know. Well, it's dog in the manger, really, isn't it? I mean, he's sort of possessive.
Don't know what it is. I do know if it goes on very much longer, he and I are going to fall out in a very big way.
Well, you should tell him.
I have, practically.
Sandbagger 2? No, Sandbagger 2, sir.
Oh, tell him I want to see him before he goes, will you?
Ah, he's on his way up to see you in...
No problems with the brief? No. Look, Willie, I want to know whether it was a suicide or whether it was a hit, and I want to know why. Phone me as soon as you get there and give me your first impressions. Bernzan?
Come on, please, Neil.
On my way, son. What time's your plane?
13:10.
Oh, well, I'm not sending you because of what happened yesterday.
okay?
No, not in the slightest. Margaret and I both enjoyed it tremendously. And, do congratulate Wendy on a most superb meal, won't you? You have a very talented wife, Paul. Yes, indeed. Many thanks. Do sit down, Neil. Sandbagger one on his way?
Just leaving now, sir.
Good. Now, have you given any more thought to a replacement for Underwood?
No, not yet.
I had a talk with C about it. I think we may have found someone. We're recommending that you should take the post, Neil. FCO will have to approve, of course, but that's a mere formality. Well, congratulations on your promotion, Neil.
It is promotion.
Sideways, yes.
Not necessarily. After all, the deputy chief was the head of station before he came here.
He was head of station in Hong Kong, not Madrid. May I know the reasons for this decision?
Certainly you may. I discussed the matter very fully with the deputy chief, and we agreed that you should be arrested.
I'd have thought I was the best judge of that.
The person under stress is very often the last to admit it.
Stress?
It's been readily apparent to your contemporaries for some while now, and your medical report confirmed it.
That idiot doctor asked me if I had bad dreams. I said yes. Does that mean I'm
Thank you, Sandy.
If I go, who will replace me?
We have a relief nominated for you, but I'm not prepared to name him until your appointment's confirmed by the FCO. I think you should know that I've spoken to Wellingham, informally, and he's given his approval.
Wrapped it up very nicely, haven't you?
I beg your pardon?
You've been angling for a reason to get rid of me ever since you took over.
If I've been angling for anything at all where you're concerned, Burnside, it's been to see that you run your department as effectively as possible. No more, no less. Try to see the problem from my point of view. I have in you a director of operations of considerable ability, field experience, good grasp of the nuances of international affairs, the loyalty and trust of your department. But at the same time, you're pushing yourself too hard to the detriment of the overall efficiency of SIS. Your tendency to try to run a one-man band, to be secretive, at times even deceitful, is causing friction and distrust among your contemporaries. And on top of that, I have a written report from our medical officer to the effect that you are suffering from stress. Stress which may well account for the very shortcomings I've noted in you. Now a vacancy arises for a head of station. You've been DOPS for very nearly 3 years. You're due for relief. I know you'll give of your very best during the interim period before you're relieved. And I think you should know that I'm putting you forward for an award. So I expect we shall see your name in the New Year Honours List. Well, now, I do have a meeting in a few minutes' time.
Thank you, sir.
Morning. Bye. Oh, Clive, I booked the call for Friday. Are you still on?
Fine.
Good.
Oh, Mr. Ross phoned. He said he'd meet you for lunch. Usual time, usual place.
Sí, por favor, es una llamada personal para el señor Burnside. Eso es.
Lo siento, pero todas las líneas para Inglaterra están ocupadas.
Dígame.
Ahora las líneas para Inglaterra están ocupadas.
Bueno, ¿cuánto tiempo tardará?
Más o menos 2 horas.
Bien, gracias.
Any luck?
International line's busy. It'll take at least an hour.
It's probably still out to lunch anyway.
Are you making anything of that lot?
No, not much. Most of it's years out of date.
I'm not surprised. Cliff was a bit of a hoarder.
What was he like to work with?
Very good. Let me get on with the job, didn't interfere.
Too much like hard work.
I wouldn't say that. He just knew when to take a back seat. Well, there wasn't much anyone could tell him about this country.
Was he into anything in particular?
He was always into everything.
Yeah, but was there anything in particular that might have made him,
Flip? I wouldn't have thought so. He was a very stable sort of bloke. Happily married, no financial problems, and thoroughly content with his job. Another coffee?
No, thanks. Keeps me awake. So, is it unlikely that he was being blackmailed or anything?
Most unlikely. He was a very clean living man. The only lead I can think of is this bloke, Bichenko. But even that's a bit thin. I mean, if the GRU or KGB were onto the fact that Bichenko was doubling, they'd have hit him, not Cliff Underwood. Unless they'd thrown the unwritten agreement out of the window.
Did Bichenko passed anything to him?
Well, nothing of any value. Some GRU documents on port facilities in the Iberian Peninsula. And a second-hand Langley printout they must have lifted from some discontented CIA man.
Did you see any of that?
No. Cliff was pretty hot on me to know. He did all the intel evaluation. Left the legwork to me.
Thanks. So what happened to Bichenko's contributions then?
They went to London on the Wednesday flight. Glad you smoke. Cliff didn't. Made me feel like a sort of junkie every time I lit up.
I know what you mean.
They gotta be crazy. I don't know. I've done a couple of years. And Tower Gibbs has never made any pretense of enjoying my company.
You don't have to like a guy in this business.
No, but it helps.
Well, you're fighting the good fight.
I was.
You mean you stopped?
The old school tie seems to be coming back into fashion. Grammar schools don't match up to Winchester or Harrow.
Oh, come on, that kind of garbage went out with Philby and McLean.
Really?
Well, they can't be getting rid of you on those grounds.
Oh, no, they're much more subtle than that. They say I'm suffering from stress.
Maybe they're right. You sure don't take it easy on yourself. When's the last time you had a vacation? Yeah, correction. When's the last time you even read a book?
Yes, well, I've got better things to do. So we walk.
Why not? Well, my outfit's been weakened enough as it is. But we just can't afford to let SIS go the same way. Well, come on, give. Who's taking your place?
Well, there's nothing definite. Dalgetty's been looking eager for the past few days.
Dalgetty.
They're probably grooming him for stardom.
That's your great intel king, huh?
Right.
Now, you think you can cope?
He would appear to cope exceedingly well.
Neil.
And that, as any old Etonian will tell you, is all that counts.
You better fight this.
Yes, well, I think it's too late.
Yeah, not exactly methodical, was he?
No. The only person who ever knew where Cliff put anything was Cliff.
Yes, I believe you.
Agencia de Viajes Underwood, dígame. Gracias, espero. Your call to London. Just come to the phone now.
Hello, boss.
Speaking, any leads? So what are you doing? Who have you seen?
Well, just the assistant manager so far. Better half's gone to Barcelona. They had the farewell ceremony this morning.
Anyone of interest there?
Well, a few friends, no VIPs.
So what are you doing? Stuff the paperwork.
Look, I'm carrying out the brief. Now, do you want me to disregard it?
I just want you to find out what I want.
Look, if you don't trust me to do the job, I suggest you recall me and get somebody else. Otherwise, stop breathing down my neck. I'm not trying to get myself recalled.
Get up your ass and start digging.
What do you want?
I'd like to talk to you. Do you mind?
What's wrong?
You.
What?
There's no need to be hostile. I'm not on the attack.
And what the hell do you want?
Well, I want to improve our relationship for a start.
We don't have a relationship.
Of course we have. Having a relationship doesn't necessarily mean jumping into bed together. When I took this job, I did so because I wanted to be your secretary, not anybody else's. The rumours all round the building. C sent for your personal records from the Central Registry. Finance has had an inquiry from the Deputy Chief about the cost of a total immersion course in Spanish. And everybody knows that there's a vacancy in Madrid. I'm right, aren't I?
Yes?
Do you think it might help to have a bit of company tonight? Dinner. Chinese, if you're free.
I appreciate your motives, Marion. The answer's no.
Look, there are things that need to be said, and I'm going to say them. You can sack me afterwards if you like. I've been working for you now for 4 months. I've liked the job, because although you put on a big pretense of being made of steel, it was quite obvious from early on that, in fact, you aren't. The things that you regard as signs of strength are actually the symptoms of weakness. You're frightened of the effects of alcohol, so you don't drink. You're frightened of emotional commitment, so you live a life like a monk. And because you're frightened of failure, you drive yourself harder than is either necessary or useful. And the result? You've become difficult to work with. The buzz goes around, you know. People avoid contact with you because they're beginning to be afraid of you. And you're getting left out in the cold. Well, you see people when they come into this office, but I see them on their way out. You can't live like that. Not for very long, anyway. Something has to give.
It's not easy when
We're going to put some money in.
honey, that's a heavy load that we bear.
Do one before you go, Will.
There's a visitor for you, Mr. Burnside.
Jean?
Geoffrey told me what happened, so I thought I'd come along and see you. You don't look so surprised. Shall I take the glass for you? How are you?
Fitter than they seem to think.
I don't expect you are for a moment. Sister said you'd had rather a nasty bump on the head. I won't ask what really happened, because I'm quite sure you're not allowed to tell me.
I was beaten up, simple as that.
Yes, of course. I seem to remember that you like bitter chocolate. I was thinking of getting in touch with you in any case, before this happened. I understand you may be leaving London.
It's possible.
A new appointment.
Jeffrey's told you that as well, has he?
We're very close, Neil. And Geoffrey likes to talk about what he's allowed to talk about.
I see.
Belinda's well.
Good.
She's just spent a few weeks up in Edinburgh.
Oh.
It's just over 4 years, isn't it? Since the divorce.
Jean, I don't keep check.
Well, it is.
Could you tell him I've cancelled his appointments? His appointments for today and tomorrow. Will you tell him I've cancelled them? And I've postponed his meeting with Munro Smith until next week.
Right, anything else?
Yes. Could you give him this?
Ah, caught you.
Thanks,
You're just
Neil.
off to the hospital, are you?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, well, depending on how he is, obviously use your
Please,
discretion.
Sandbagger 1 is on the line in the MCO, sir.
Tell him I'll be down straight away.
Thank you. D-Int is on his
All right,
way.
Wallace, off you go, and tell your lord and master that we've got everything firmly under control so he can just relax for a few days. Do him the power of good.
Wouldn't you even consider trying a reconciliation, Neil? After all, you did love each other once. I know you did because it showed. And I know you do have lingering regrets, because that shows too. The silly thing is, I hesitate to say this, but it may even be good for your career. With a wife at your side, you could well go higher, achieve more, be a power for greater good. Well, isn't that what you want? Maybe I'm taking advantage. But if that's the case, it's because I'm fond of you as well as Belinda. It hurts me to see both of you so unhappy.
Mike? Would you like me to come back later, sir?
No, I was just about to go. Well, you know our telephone number. You're always welcome. If ever you want to stay.
Thank you, Jean.
Goodbye, Neil.
I brought the things you wanted, sir. D-Int sends you a message. He says he's got everything firmly under control.
I bet he has.
Is there any truth in the rumour?
What rumor?
Well, it's common knowledge that you're going to Madrid, but the latest is that Dalgetty's going to replace you.
Reliable source?
Oh, first-hand observation. He's snooping around the ops room like someone who knows something about his own future. He's recalled Willie from Madrid. I spent half an hour in the hutch this morning quizzing me on what I thought of the job.
I've been in contact with Five, sir. Initial inquiries indicate that it was a simple case of mugging. They've interviewed him, of course. He says he went for a walk. Apparently, Neil often takes his exercise in the small hours.
Amazing how little one knows about people until something like this happens.
As far as the operations department is concerned, I've briefed myself fully with the current situation. Sandbagger 1 returns on the first flight out of Madrid.
Good, we're going to need him back here.
So we'll have both Sandbaggers on hand at a moment's notice for the Athens operation, should they be required.
Excellent, Paul.
So,
do we know how long Burnside will be in hospital?
just a couple of days, I think, for observation. I sent Wallace along to the hospital this morning.
Probably a blessing in disguise, all this, Paul. It'll give you a chance to have a look at your new department before the changeover takes place.
Mr. Burnside, what are you doing? Why are you out of bed?
I'm discharging myself.
Well, in that case, you're a bigger fool than I took you for. You've been concussed. There may be complications.
I need some complications, so let me do that.
Idiot. When did you get back?
Half an hour ago. Boss in?
Hospital.
He's in the hospital?
He got bopped on the head last night in Leicester Square.
Is he okay?
Slight concussion.
Where's my coffee, then?
Here we go. I knew it was too good to last.
What happened, then?
He was mugged.
Wonder why Dalgetty took the call.
That's the other bit of news. Dalgetty is taking over as D-Ops. The drums have been beating all night.
I don't believe it.
You will.
Well, they're getting rid of Burnside.
Easing him out.
What are they going to do with him?
Can't you guess?
No.
Well, there's a vacancy somewhere, isn't there?
Not Madrid. Dalgetty does get D-Ops, you won't see me for dust. Bit too keen on the old school tie bit for my liking.
He keeps referring to Neil as my lord and master. What are you doing?
What happened to you?
Oh, you're back, are you?
What happened?
Nothing, really, nothing. What do you want?
I think I found the reason for Cliff's suicide.
Huh?
It's an octopus printout. Look at the entry against Underwood there.
Where'd you get this?
Down the back of Cliff's filing cabinet. Looks like he lost it by mistake on purpose, doesn't it?
Don't blame him. Does Pearson know about this?
No. He does know that some CIA document had been passed to Cliff by Bachenko.
And this was it?
Part of it, yeah. The rest was sent for evaluation in last Wednesday's diplomatic bag. Why didn't you tell me that?
Well, because I didn't know anything about it. Hold on, look, you're telling me that someone in this building let me send you to Madrid, knowing that we had a CIA document here already?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Yes, it bloody does. Paul, it's Neil. Can you spare me a minute? I think we've got something on Madrid. Thank you.
I'll leave you to it then.
Yes. I suppose Marion's told you all the latest gossip?
Yes. You're going to fight that, aren't you?
Well, up until now, I had nothing to fight it with.
Dean to see you, sir.
Show me, will you? Let's see how the public school's blue-eyed boy can talk his way out of this one. Thanks, Willie.
You shouldn't be here.
Kane stumbled on the reason for Underwood's suicide.
Has he, by God?
And I've stumbled on the fact that you failed to show me whatever it was Madrid passed to us in last Wednesday's diplomatic bag.
Nothing of significance, Neil. Some GRU paper on ports and logistics. Heavy stuff.
Wasn't it an octopus printout, US eyes only?
Yes. Yes, there was, as a matter of fact.
Oh, why wasn't it shown,
Need to know. Peel didn't consider it necessary.
Since when does the Director of Intelligence go running to the Deputy Chief to find out who to put on the distribution?
It was US eyes only, Neil, and your special relationship with the CIA chap here is a little too special, if you see what I mean. Peel was afraid that if you saw it, you'd take it to, what's his name, Ross.
Oh, I see. And I suppose, as it was delicate...
Exactly.
Well, I want to see it now.
Difficult.
Why?
Peel's got it.
Then I'll have to get it of him.
Neil. Do you have to?
I am still DVDRip. That means I have a right to see all material stations provide.
I appreciate that, but if you go to Peel now, it's going to make me
You
look...
should have thought of it earlier, shouldn't you? It's just a question where your loyalties lie. It's Burnside, sir. Yes, sir. Can I come and see you now, if possible?
It's a question of need to know, you see. And as you're shortly to be relieved as DVDRip, there seemed little reason for you to be shown it. Now, do sit down, Neil.
Deant has already admitted that it's delicate, and that you agreed I should not be shown it. There has to be a reason for that. I'd like to know what it is, sir.
It wouldn't be in our best interests, or in yours.
It's come to that, has it? Burnside versus the rest.
Oh.
All right, if you won't show it to me, I'll go to the CIA. Ask Jeff Frost to punch out a copy.
Well, that'll be difficult.
Why?
Well, even if he's prepared to play ball, which I very much doubt, you won't know what to ask for.
And I could show him this.
What is it?
It's part of a CIA printout. Kane found it in Underwood's filing cabinet. It states that his wife Maggie has been involved in a succession of lesbian affairs over the past 10 years.
How dreadful.
It may be dreadful. But I'm also curious to know what else the CIA has found out about us that we didn't know already. So you're going to show me the rest of it, or am I going to Ross?
All right.
Thank you, sir. I'm most grateful.
No, it doesn't leave this office. You can sit down and read it here. And C has ordered that as far as SIS are concerned, it is UK eyes only.
Friction and distrust. Huh. I wonder where C had borrowed that from.
We didn't write it, Neil.
Oh, you want a bowl of water so you can wash your hands as well?
I would suggest you concentrate on making a dignified departure.
Very interesting.
I should like to see the final sheet, if I may.
I'm sure you would, sir. I'll let you have it as soon as I finish with it.
Quite frank, sir, I no longer trust him. He's a disappointed and embittered man.
Do you think he'll go to Ross?
Oh, I'd lay money on it.
And poison the special relationship?
Exactly, sir. That's precisely what I'm afraid of. Afternoon, gentlemen.
Oh, Neil. Nice to see you on your feet. Decode that.
The head of Station Madrid drowned himself because his wife was a lesbian, didn't he?
I don't know, did he?
Well, don't look so surprised. You knew before we did.
Okay, how would I have known about that?
Don't you even read the intelligence appraisals your own office originates?
Sorry, you lost me.
All right, well then I'll jog your memory. Burnside, Director of Operations, a man whose tendency to run a one-man band is causing friction and distrust. Does that ring a bell?
Either you know something I don't, or that bang on the head was worse than we thought. Now, Neil, why don't you just sit down and, come on, let me in on the big secret here.
All right, what about this? CIA London, of which I believe you're the head, issued an appraisal of SIS, its strengths and weaknesses. Classified secret, US eyes only, right?
How'd you know about that?
In it, among quite a lot of other things, you reveal that Mrs. Underwood has been having affairs with other women for the past 10 years. And that as Director of Operations, I've been causing friction and distrust.
No appraisal issued at this station ever said anything in the kind like that. About you or what's her name, Mrs. Underwood.
All right, well, what about that?
Okay, where's the rest of it?
Beale's got it.
Hang on. Judy, that UK appraisal we did, I want my original. Get it in here, will you?
Yes, Mr. Ross. This is US eyes only, sir.
Yes, dear, I know the rules. Okay, Burnside. Burnside Neal, Director of Operations, an ambitious officer whose dedication and ruthlessness have won him respect rather than popularity. Disliked by the chief of SIS for his shortcut methods, he is nevertheless one of the mainstays of the organization, which would be seriously weakened by his departure. Divorced. Underwood, Clifford Wheatley, head of station, Madrid. A quiet, unobtrusive man with a deep knowledge of his station. A devoted husband and father of 4 children. And that is all she wrote. You've been set up, Neil. You and the whole of SIS with you.
So it was KGB?
Yes. They set Pachenko up as a double who planted the false printout on Underwood in the sure knowledge he'd pass it on to us. And that we believe anything printed by Octopus.
Who needs enemies when we've got computers?
Do you want to go on being DVDRips?
Is that an invitation, sir?
Yes.
Based on an SIS assessment of what you've just read in that?
My assessment of you, Burnside.
Then I accept, sir.
Well, you'd better give this back to your friend.
Thank you, sir.
I suppose we could,
Sandy, my compliments to Dee, and ask him to come up, would you?
Oh, sir. I forgot to give you this when I visited this morning.
What is it?
Your secretary gave it to me for you. I wouldn't like her to know that I'd forgotten to...
Thanks, mate. Oh, by the way, somebody's written Dalgety rules okay on the back of the staff lavatory door. Get it removed.
I'll see to it, sir.